Ok, clase. Este video es sobre the imperfecto tense, the imperfect tense. I put the picture of back to the past because we're going back to the past. This tense is another past tense. So, like I just said, in Spanish there are two past tenses. There is number one, the preterite, which we have already learned, this one. And número dos, the imperfecto, which is what we are learning right now. And I know you're probably thinking, wait, there's two tenses in the past. How do I know which one to use? So glad you asked. So, when to use which past tense? Again, the preterite and the imperfect are used to talk about the past. The preterite tense is used to speak about completed actions in the past. It had a definite start and an end time. So, I went to the beach during the summer, blank, blank, blank. I had a definite start and an end time. So July 1st to July 7th, I went to the beach. You would use the preterite for that. The imperfect tense, however, is used to describe a habitual or repeated past action. So the exact time the action began and or ended is not very important. So let's look at this in más detalle. In more detail in regards to the imperfect, they can be actions that were repeated habitually, actions that set the stage for another past tense event. In bold or in red, right here I put this because you for sure need to know this. These are the different ways you can use the imperfect. For telling time and dates in the past, for telling a person's age in the past, to describe people or characteristics in the past, and to communicate mental or physical states in the past. So think about when you're using the imperfect tense or descriptions, or really for any of these, think of describing what people used to look like in a photograph or what you used to be like as a child. That's when you're going to use the imperfect tense. Let's look at some example sentences so you know what I mean. Cuando era niña, jugaba con muñecas. You don't necessarily know the conjugations of these yet, but I'm just showing you. In red is going to be the imperfect tense, okay? When I was a child, I played with dolls. You're going to put these in the imperfect because you're describing you're telling a story. When I was a child, I played with dolls. This is a habitual action. It's not something that was one and done. It's like you're telling a story. Los chicos hablaban en español. The boys used to speak in Spanish. So it's not the preterite. The boys spoke in Spanish. That's not what this means. The boys used to speak in Spanish. Estaba durmiendo cuando el teléfono sonó. I was sleeping when the telephone rang. Cuando tenía 3 años era muy pequeño. You're going to use this a lot. When he was 3 years old, he was very small. Or cuando tenía, when I was 3 years old, era muy pequeño. I was very small. Okay? And don't freak out if you don't quite understand it just from watching the video. No te preocupes. We're going to have some práctica with it mañana. Okay, but let's see how to conjugate the imperfect tense. How do we conjugate it? So let's look at AR verbs first. Like any verb, you're going to keep the stem of the infinitive and add the following endings. So let's take hablar, for example. That's an AR verb. We're getting rid of AR. Our stem is HABL. These are the endings we're going to add. Aba, abas, aba, abamos. Sorry, that should be abamos, AB. That should be in red as well. And aban. So it's kind of fun to say. Aba, abas, aba, abamos, aban. So look here. The imperfect tense endings are pretty much the same as the present tense, right? O, as, a, amos, an. You're just adding AB before them. Add AB before them. Other than this one, it's not an O, it's an A. But aba, abas, aba, abamos, aban. It's really fun to say too. You should try it out like right now. It's pretty awesome. So yo hablaba, I used to speak, right? Tú hablabas, you used to speak, so on and so forth. Let's look at ER verbs. How do we do those? Again, like any other verb, keep the stem and add the following endings. We're going to do it with the verbo comer. Get rid of the ER. This is what you're going to add. Ella, ellas, ella, íamos, ian. Again, fairly simple. It's like you're adding the present tense endings again, but for AR verbs rather. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, ian. Pretty simple. So yo comía means bleh. I used to eat, tú comías, you used to eat, so on and so forth. Now let's look at IR verbs. Guess what, guys? We're going to do it with vivierd, but look at here! Boom shakalaka! The endings are the exact same as ER verbs. That makes it a lot easier. So only AR verbs look different than ER and IR, but ER and IR verbs are going to have the exact same endings. That is extremely helpful. Ia, ias, ia, iamos, ian. So nosotros vivíamos means we used to live. And then you can fill in the rest of the sentence. We used to live in the park or whatever it is, near the park. Okay? Now, I know that this says the imperfect tense of irregular verbs. We're not going to get into that yet. I thought I erased this, and I'm so sorry. That'll be for in a few days. But just in general, the imperfect tense really isn't that hard. It's pretty simple. And that is all for este video. No hay más. There's nothing else. If you didn't quite understand it from this video, you're going to have a lot of practico with this, so don't freak out. What I encourage y'all to do is take out the very important sheet that I had given y'all. It's also on OneDrive under very important sheets. Encourage you to take that out. It is your regular verbs ending sheet, and we've already filled in the endings for the present tense and the preterite tense, but now that we have learned the imperfect tense, I encourage you to whip that sheet out and add these endings to the imperfect tense. That way you can have them all side by side. Other than that, adios. This is all for este video. Chao, chao. Y vamos a practicar con el imperfecto mañana durante el clase. Adios.